Welcome to the Explainer. So if you've ever tried setting up a smart home, you already know the struggle. It can seriously feel like you need an advanced engineering degree just to figure out how to turn on a single light bulb. Well, today, we're going to demystify the complex alphabet soup of IoT wireless protocols. We're digging straight into the actual engineering reports and architectural guides so we can finally fix your smart home headaches once and for all. Let's get right into it.
It's the ultimate relatable pain point, right? Why won't my smart bulb talk to my smart lock? You go out, buy a shiny new device, bring it home, and bam, you realize it speaks a totally different language than the hub you already own. We are tackling this exact core problem of fragmentation today. You know, that absolute frustration of needing multiple proprietary hubs, 10 different apps, and a bunch of bridges just to get the most basic devices talking to each other? So, here's our roadmap for the journey. We'll be starting all the way down at the physical radio layer and moving right up to the application layer. We're going to kick things off with the smart home chaos, then we'll enter Matter and Thread. After that, we'll navigate the noisy invisible battlefield, talk about locking down IoT security, and finally wrap up with building the future network. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the smart home chaos.
For the longest time, setting up a smart home meant making these impossible choices. You basically had to pick your poison. Do you want to use the Z-Wave network? I mean, it operates in the nice, less crowded sub-GHz band, but it came with a hard 232 node limit on its legacy mesh. Or maybe you go with Zigbee. Sure, it offers a massive mesh network, but it's constantly fighting for space in that super congested 2.4 GHz band. Or hey, maybe you just stick with Bluetooth Low Energy for simple point-to-point connections. But here's the kicker. Because these protocols fundamentally couldn't talk to each other natively over IP, you ended up with a closet completely full of different proprietary hubs just plugged into your router. Absolute chaos.
Which brings us to section 2, enter Matter and Thread. Let's see how the industry finally decided to fix this mess by introducing our two distinct heroes. To really understand them, we're going to use a language versus wire analogy. The crucial thing to grasp here is that Matter is the language. Think of it like English. It's an open-source application layer standard. Basically, Matter is what defines how a smart bulb describes itself, how it receives a command, and how it reports its status back to you, and it uses IPv6 to do this. So Matter is actually not a radio signal itself. It's simply the shared vocabulary that your devices use to converse, whether they're talking over Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or our next hero, Thread.
So if Matter is the language they're speaking, Thread is the medium carrying that language. It's the wire, kind of like a telephone line. Thread is a low-power wireless mesh networking protocol. And the real magic here is that because Thread is natively IP addressable, it carries those IPv6 Matter commands completely effortlessly without needing some clunky proprietary translation hub in the middle. It runs right on the 2.4 GHz band, creating this incredibly cool self-healing mesh where every single plugged-in device automatically extends the range for all your battery-powered ones.
And wow, is this standard moving fast? I mean, incredibly fast. Matter 1.0 just launched back in October 2022, and it only had the basics, lights, plugs, and locks. But by October 2023, with version 1.2, we saw robot vacuums and major appliances join the party. Then, version 1.4 in late 2024 brought in heat pumps and solar inverters. And looking ahead to version 1.5 in November 2025, the standard is expanding to heavy-hitting, high-bandwidth categories like streaming video doorbells, CCTV cameras, and even motorized awnings. The sheer volume of categories they've added in just a few short years is honestly staggering.
Now, Thread wasn't exactly perfect right out of the gate. Up until late 2024, if you bought an Apple HomePod, a Google Nest Hub, and an Amazon Echo, each one of those actually generated its own completely isolated Thread mesh network. Devices were stuck on their own little islands. But Thread 1.4 finally cures this multi-mesh fragmentation. It literally forces these border routers to securely share credentials with each other. So today, when you power up a new Thread 1.4 border router, it just joins the existing mesh instead of creating a brand new one. Your Apple, Google, and Amazon devices finally merge together into one cohesive, self-healing network. A real game changer.
All right, moving on to section 3, the noisy invisible battlefield.
So let's step into the physical war that is currently waging inside your home right now, specifically in that 2.4 GHz frequency band. I like to call this the crowded party problem. Picture this, your high-power Wi-Fi routers transmit at up to 1 watt, which means they are essentially shouting at the absolute top of their lungs. Meanwhile, your low-power Thread and Zigbee sensors, they're whispering at a tiny 0.01 watts. And because a standard Wi-Fi channel overlaps directly with multiple Thread and Zigbee channels, those little whispers get completely drowned out. The receiver gets totally saturated, and that is exactly what leads to those annoying latency spikes and dropped connections. So how in the world do we actually survive all this interference? Well, the engineering reports give us some super practical mitigations. First up, you need to maintain at least a 2-meter physical separation between your Wi-Fi router and your IoT hub. Give them some breathing room. Second, and this is absolutely huge, unshielded USB 3.0 ports in hard drives actually create broadband radio frequency noise that just kills network receiver sensitivity. You literally have to connect your coordinators using thick, shielded USB 2.0 extension cables and make sure you plug them into native USB 2.0 ports to act as a physical spatial buffer. Oh, and definitely avoid placing your antennas right next to single-board computers.
Let's shift gears a bit. Section 4. Locking down IoT security.
Transitioning away from physical interference, we really have to talk about cybersecurity. And look, when we talk about smart home vulnerabilities, the stakes are incredibly high. We're not just talking about your wireless printer glitching out and ruining a document. We are talking about invisible threats living in our most intimate spaces. Compromised smart locks, alarm systems, and sensors directly affect the physical safety of our very own kitchens, our living rooms, and our front doors. We always have to ground these complex cryptography concepts in that very real, everyday reality.
Here's what used to happen. During a standard over-the-air joining process on older, legacy networks, the trust center has to transmit the master network key to the new device. But to do that, it encrypts it with a pre-configured global link key. The problem? If you're using default keys, a passive attacker, literally just sitting in a car outside your house, could easily sniff this entire exchange right out of the thin air.
Let's actually break down that attack vector step by step. An attacker with a simple $40 USB dongle sniffs the standard pairing process. And because older profiles relied on the default Zigbee Alliance 09 link key, or maybe Bluetooth's Just Works pairing, where the temporary key literally equals 0, the attacker just trivially decrypts the packet. That's step 2. Step 3, they extract your 128-bit AES network key. Boom. They now own your entire mesh. And finally, step 4, they can start sending spoofed wake-up signals to your sleeping sensors, completely draining their batteries in a matter of days. No way do you want that happening.
Thankfully, modern protocols completely defeat this by securing the network using install codes. So instead of a global default key, devices use a randomly generated 16-byte install code that is assigned right at the factory. The system then uses elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman public key cryptography, try saying that 3 times fast, to securely generate a shared secret over an untrusted channel. The absolute best part is that the actual private keys never leave the respective devices. This makes the network highly secure and incredibly resistant to those sneaky, passive sniffing attacks.
All right, we've made it to our final section. Section 5. Building the future network.
Let's see how next-generation spatial and sub-gigahertz standards are totally reshaping the ultimate smart home architecture. You see, a huge part of the future is knowing exactly where a device is physically located in your house. Historically, ultra-wideband, or UWB, was the undisputed king of this. It shoots these massive 500 MHz wideband pulses to measure the time of flight for proximity detection. But then Bluetooth 6.0 showed up and introduced channel sounding. It uses phase-based ranging across the narrow 2.4 GHz band combined with round-trip time measurements to seriously challenge UWB in the spatial awareness market.
And here is exactly why that matters for your wallet. While UWB is totally necessary for extreme sub-10 centimeter precision, think industrial robotics and stuff like that, it requires expensive, dedicated silicon. That adds over $2 to the bill of materials, and it drains batteries super quickly. On the flip side, BLE's 6.0 channel sounding can run on standard transceivers costing about 40 cents, and it consumes far less energy. It finally makes highly secure mass-market spatial awareness for things like consumer asset tracking and smart locks completely viable.
Finally, for true interference immunity, we're seeing this massive push to just escape the 2.4 GHz war altogether. Next-generation sub-gigahertz standards, like the Z-Wave 800 series and Wi-Fi Halo, bypass all that Wi-Fi congestion entirely. Take Z-Wave Long Range, for example. It actually operates in a star topology rather than a mesh, and it offers an absolutely incredible 1.5 miles of direct line-of-sight range. To put that in perspective, it can effortlessly penetrate concrete and heavy foliage, all while letting your little sensor batteries last up to 10 years. That's just wild.
So, we've covered the initial chaos, the awesome solutions found in Matter and Thread, the crazy physical interference war, and the heavy cryptography securing it all. Which really just leads us to one final big question. Is your home network truly prepared for the next generation of IoT? I highly encourage you to take the concepts from this explainer and go audit your own setups. Check your Thread border routers for version 1.4 support and make absolutely sure your smart home is built for the future.
Thanks so much for exploring this with me.